Hi, my name is Amalie Jahn, and I'm the author of Teen Canteen, Rocky Road with Pixel and Ink Books. This book is written from 4 points of view, 4 main characters throughout the book. And today I'm going to be reading you the first chapter, which happens to be a Tasha chapter on the last night of summer camp. The worst part of Camp Happy Hollow was the end of the summer talent show. Tasha didn't have a talent. Playing hot cross buns on the recorder in 4th grade didn't count. That's why, for the past 3 summers, while everyone else had gathered in the mess hall performing TikTok dances and the same ridiculous skits over and over, she'd hidden away in the kitchen freezer, eating her way through leftover 5-gallon tubs of ice cream. The summer between 3rd and 4th grades, she hadn't considered how cold it would be. She'd only lasted 10 minutes before succumbing to numb fingers and chattering teeth. The summer between 4th and 5th grade, she'd remembered a jacket, but forgotten a spoon. Luckily, she discovered a ladle in the nearby supply closet and managed to get her fill. Between 5th and 6th grade, she'd packed an extra sweatshirt and remembered a spoon. It was nearly perfect. Nearly. Now, on the last night of camp before the start of 7th grade, as she sat on an empty milk crate in the walk-in freezer handing out pug sweatshirts she'd brought from her cabin, 2 hoodies, 2 crew necks, she realized what she'd been missing all those years wasn't clothing or cutlery. It was company. Claire slipped Tasha's Pug Life sweatshirt over her head and pulled her mousy brown pigtails from beneath the collar. This feels a lot like stealing. She glanced over her shoulder at the freezer's large metal door, like she was afraid one of their counselors would burst through at any moment. Are you sure we're not going to get caught? Tasha tossed a green Pugs and Kisses hoodie at Raylin and shook her head. I have been coming in here for years. Everyone's so busy patting each other on the back over how amazing they are, they won't even realize we're gone. Back in 3rd grade, Tasha had overheard her counselor talking to Miss Kaufman, the camp director, about all the leftover food they threw away after the campers went home. It had taken all summer for her to work up the courage to investigate for herself. That's when she'd discovered the extra ice cream in the freezer. Billy's formidable size prevented him from borrowing Tasha's Pugs Not Drugs sweatshirt, so he stood there shivering in his thin t-shirt. If Tasha's right about everything in here getting thrown away tomorrow, it sounds like we're doing the counselors a favor. Less work for them once we're gone. He continued fighting with the lid of a tub of chocolate and vanilla swirl, tumbling backward into Raylin when it finally came loose. She winced when her stolen stash of mess hall spoons clattered to the floor. Sorry, he said, stooping to help her pick them up. I didn't hurt you, did I? Nah, I'm fine. Raylin wiped the rest of the spoons on her sleeve and handed one to Tasha. You really came here by yourself the last few years? Yeah, Tasha glanced around the walk-in freezer at the others, remembering the tightness in her chest as the entire camp had divided into squads of the first day back in June. Every summer had been the same, that feeling of being shuffled into some random group where no one really wanted her. This summer, though, when the dust had settled, she hadn't been the last camper standing. 3 other kids had needed her as much as she needed them. Until you guys showed up, there wasn't anyone else I wanted to hang out with. I'm glad we ended up together on Team Canteen, and not just because of the ice cream. Tasha's sweatshirt nearly swallowed Claire as she shoveled a spoonful of vanilla into her mouth. I was nervous about coming to camp. I was so scared no one would want to be friends with the new girl. Now I don't want to go home because I'm going to miss y'all so much. Billy held his spoon in his fist and dug into the tub like he was shoveling through rocks. His close buzz cut had grown out over the summer and was beginning to curl around his ears. I'm glad your mom made you, and I'm going to miss all of you too. You guys are so much more fun than the kids from hockey camp last summer. He rolled his eyes. I am never going back there. I don't care what my dad says. Thunderous applause erupted from the mess hall. The 3rd performance was finished. Tasha swept a tendril of her long dark hair from her face and began counting on her fingers. 11 acts at 4 minutes each is 44 minutes. We've got about 32 minutes left. When I need help with math this year, I know who I'm calling, Raylin said through a mouthful of chocolate. Claire held her spoon, eyes wide. We're going to get out of here before then, though, right? If we leave when everyone else does, they'll see us sneaking out and we'll get in trouble. She swallowed. What if they won't let us come back next year? We'll sneak out after the 10th act and wait by the back door, Tasha explained. Then we'll just blend in with the others when they come through. She dug her spoon back into the tub, pressing with all her might. The trouble with eating ice cream in the freezer was that it never softened up. Still, the extra effort was worth it. Trust me, we're not getting caught. The friends fell into comfortable silence as Tasha savored the creamy richness of her fudge ripple. Instead of the ice cream making her shiver, warmth spread through her as she thought about what a great summer it had been. All that would change tomorrow when she had to leave her new Team Canteen friends behind and go back to her regular life. Her regular, boring life. Except, wait, what did that message say? Something about a surprise waiting for me? A new member of the family? Did Dad and Papa finally give in? Did they get me the pug puppy I've been begging for since I was 6? Maybe going back home wouldn't be so lonely after all. Y'all think you're coming back next summer? Claire asked, her chin tucked like she was a little afraid of the answer. Tasha had been going to sleepaway camp since 2nd grade. Her parents both worked full-time, and since Papa had spent all of his childhood summers at Happy Hollow, it was the only real option they'd ever considered for her. Back in January, she'd lobbied against going to camp. She was almost a teenager and way more mature than her classmates. Couldn't she just stay home? But Papa hadn't budged. She'd attend camp until she was old enough to drive. At the time, 16 had seemed so far away. Now, looking around the freezer at her friends, coming back to camp the next summer didn't seem so bad. I'll be here. Me too. Raylan tucked a curl behind her ear as she reached past Claire for another spoonful of vanilla swirl. We should all keep in touch and put into bunk together if we can. She frowned at Billy. I wish they had some co-ed cabins. It stinks for you being alone with all those guys. Boys' cabins aren't that bad, as long as they only make me stay there at night. Billy shrugged like it was no big deal, but the downturned corners of his mouth told another story. Just promise you'll always wait for me at breakfast so I can hang out with you during the day. We'll always wait for you, Claire said. Team Canteen for life. After an entire summer in the sun, everyone's complexion had darkened. Everyone but Billy's. And while it was true, he'd spent most of his waking hours inside the craft room or the theater, on the rare occasion he did venture outside, he was never without his trusty FPF 80. Now, though, his almost transparent skin was a pale shade of blue. You look like you're freezing, Raylan said. Do you want to go? Billy shook his head. I'm okay. You think I'd be used to the cold by now, living in Canada, hanging out at ice rinks my whole life? He blew into his hands. Guess not. Claire grinned. Well, you look like a Smurf. Or a blueberry, Raylan added, like Violet Beauregard from Willy Wonka. Claire and Raylan dissolved into a fit of giggles, and as Billy shivered, Tasha remembered the hot pink boa she'd taken from the theater workroom earlier that day. She rifled through her backpack before finding it tucked into the fold at the bottom. Here, she said, shoving it at Billy. Wrap this around your neck. Maybe it'll help. He held it at arm's length, admiring the feathers. It's so fancy. Where'd you find it? Beneath the stage storage cabinet, the big one with the broken lock. I tried putting it away, but all the costumes were already boxed up. She shrugged. It's not like they'll miss it, right? It was so long, Billy was able to wrap it around his neck and his head. He set a hand on his hip and posed. I'm ready for my photo shoot. Claire and Raylan pretended they were paparazzi holding invisible cameras to capture his swagger as he strutted around. Their laughter echoed off the metal walls, almost drowning out the sound of approaching footsteps. Almost. Shh! Tasha held a finger to her lips. There's somebody out there. She motioned for them to hide in the corner behind a stack of boxes, then flattened herself against the stainless steel wall, making room as Raylan pressed in behind her. Claire tripped over a milk crate, but righted herself and scurried into the hiding spot just as the freezer door swung open. Billy, what are you doing in here? Tasha recognized Miss Janice's voice right away. She held her breath, waiting for Billy to respond. He would take the fall before ratting them out. Her pulse sped up as she considered stepping out into the open. Have you been... Miss Janice sucked her teeth. Look at this half-eaten ice cream. You're going to be sick as sure as I'm standing here. Now, come on. The door hinges creak as the opening widened. Let's go. The door slammed shut behind them. And Tasha turned wide-eyed to face Raylan and Claire. Everyone was heading home in the morning. And if Miss Janice turned Billy into the camp director, there was a chance they'd never see him again. That was the start of Team Canteen, Rocky Road. Thank you so much for listening, and go pick up a copy at your nearest bookstore.